Hey guys, we want to thank Cap City Tees for sponsoring today's episode. That's right, Cap City Tees, the #1 printing company in Sacramento. Well, at least in our hearts. Cap City Tees is an amazing company putting out amazing quality at, most importantly, amazing prices. They are in line with any major retailer out there. Now, if you're in need of getting a shirt screen printed or embroidered, whether that's your local soccer team or basketball team or volleyball team or all the way up to corporate clothing, Cap City Tees is the place to go. So if you're in need or if you're in want, reach out to Cap City Tees at capcitytees.com or capcitytees@gmail.com. That's capcitytees@gmail.com. Welcome to the Hard Money Show, where we talk about real estate, home loans, and media. It is a good day when we can jump on the podcast and we can talk about what is going on in our industry, and more importantly, have a guest on who I think is going to bring some great insight. So, April, how's it going? We appreciate you being on today.
It's going great, Matt. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. So I saw on your account that you're a managing broker. I'm not sure if that means that you own the business or if you're one of the people in charge. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Kind of a yes to all of those questions.
All right.
So I'm actually one of the co-owners. There's 4 of us that co-own Future Homes and Real Estate. We also co-own, which is a completely separate company, Future Property Management, and also Premier Transaction Services, which is also another separate company that just does transaction services for real estate agents all across the state of California. So there's 4 of us that co-own. I'm the managing broker. And we have 3 offices. We have an office in Folsom, an office in Placerville, and an office in Hayward.
Wow, that's awesome. I always have to kind of ask people what their title means, because sometimes, like, I just had someone on the podcast not too long ago. They kind of self-proclaim themselves as a community advocate realtor. And I was thinking, I'm like, I don't really think that's like an official title anywhere. I'm like, I don't know. So I always kind of have to tell people, like, what exactly is it that you do? But so you're like the boss over there. You're having where's your guys' office here in Sacramento?
So it's here in Folsom, and we're actually located at 1839 Iron Point Road, Suite 140 in Folsom. We're in the Broadstone Business Center.
I was going to say Iron Point out there is a nice area, right?
That's a very nice area. Yeah.
I like Folsom a lot in general. I used to coach swimming out there. I coached over at the high school, and then there's a competitive team right over the hill in Aldorados, and I did some clinics over there with Taz swimming. And so I really loved the drive up there. Besides, it seemed like there was always kind of a couple speed traps, especially when I was coming back out going into Sacramento. So I always had to be really cautious about that. But
Yeah.
I love the area out there. There's a lot obviously going on out there in that corridor from Anatolia going into Folsom. So I'm sure you have a lot of insight on that. But obviously the communities out there are beautiful, especially if you're living on the hill up there. So pretty nice. What made you guys decide to open up office out there?
Well, so I've actually been working as a realtor in El Dorado County for the last, 28 years. So I've been here for quite a long time. And then the 4 of us that got together to open up Future Homes and Real Estate, we did that 10 years ago. We're actually in the same identical location we were 10 years ago when we opened our doors. We're in the same building, same office. So, yeah, I mean, we were already here, kind of already had a foothold. There was several realtors that came with us and joined us right away that I had already been working with at another company. And when we started Future Homes and Real Estate, it was really, a downturn in the market. We were knee deep still in short sales, and it was a pretty tough time then.
I mean, you guys are essentially a cornerstone in the real estate, market out there in the Folsom, El Dorado area. I mean, that's a long time. Clearly, you know, it's it's often hard to communicate on the podcast and with people in general how tough it is to make real estate a career and to do it for an extended amount of time and then open your own brokerage and keep that functioning as well. So, I think that this is going to be a great insight. And I want to say that you may be one of the more senior people that we've had on the podcast. We've had brokers on, definitely, but it sounds like you definitely are going to have some really great insight, especially of what was going on during that time here in the communities, which I'm excited about. In the capacity of, you have these three other brokers that you work with. How does that relationship work?
So actually, they're not brokers. I'm the only broker of record.
Okay.
So between the four owners, we all brought a different skill set together in
Mm,
order to start a real estate company that was different. I mean, our whole goal was to start a company that was really more tailored towards helping build realtors' knowledge of the business and helping them be able to really provide a better customer service, but more about wisdom and knowledge and building that knowledge with our clientele so that they had a better understanding um, of the communities and what real estate agents have to offer. I mean, I think, like you said earlier, I mean, a lot of people can have a real estate license, but it's the ones that actually stick around um, that because they're still around, they've worked very hard to learn and to gain as much knowledge as possible. We really wanted to help change the face of real estate one agent at a time. So that's what we've done. So our president and CEO has actually done about 25 startups.
mm.
He's very, very well versed in starting companies, mostly in, San Francisco and the Bay Area. So he's, uh, you know, very well experienced. so,
Right.
so he's our president and CEO. He actually is the president and CEO of five different corporations.
Mm.
And then one of our other co-owners, she's the chief financial officer for a couple of those companies. So she naturally was already a shoe in for being able to handle the financial side. And then our other co-owner is more of a silent co-owner. She's also partnered with another company that we're partnered with that is a more of a medical side, medical
Mm.
and schooling, actually kindergarten through 12th grade, in helping prep for testing and studying and just tutoring.
It's not very often that you hear people opening up a brokerage with that sort of kind of backing with you, A lot of times you have one individual, maybe they're going to open it with a partner. But it sounds like you guys came in very strong initially.
Yes, we really did, and we had agents that came just from our knowledge and relationships of really good agents in the area already.
Hmm.
So when we started Future Homes and Real Estate, and we started with a group of five agents immediately, and we've grown very organically ever since on purpose, really, because we have a certain personality here, and we want to make sure that everyone that decides to join our team, that they are as comfortable with us as we are with them.
So, what was your I mean, your mission essentially sounded from very early. I don't know if this developed later or if it's really how you started to develop a culture of educated realtors, right? Is that how you guys started, or is that was something that developed over time?
No, that was actually the idea from the start.
Okay. And I don't want you to have to talk bad about anybody, but I have to ask, being in the position that you're in and working with people and really having that mission of wanting to have realtors that do the career effectively, how frustrating is it for you to deal with other realtors that are not on that level, right? Because that's not, in my experience, that's not a big focus for a lot of brokerages. A lot of brokerages really just focus on how do we get people in the door, how do we get deals closed, and this isn't something mutually exclusive to small brokerages. You see this on large brokerage scales as well, where we're starting to see kind of the recruiting thing become a huge part of the real estate industry and people making their money off of that side. And so,
Right.
for you, that kind of changing dichotomy in this industry, what does that feel like for you?
Well, for us, even from the very beginning, it was more about attitude than anything else. I mean, if we have a realtor that only sells, one house in a year or 200 homes in a year, it really doesn't matter to us necessarily. It's about the attitude.
Mm,
So, we support our agents, 100%. And, I don't want to, like you say, you don't want to talk about bad about anybody, but in my past experiences, the company that, say, your manager or your managing broker isn't really there um, when you need them, when it's really important. Sometimes,
mhm.
you make that phone call and you may not get a phone call back for 24 to 48 hours. And if you're sitting there with a buyer and you have a question, it's always okay to let a buyer know, I don't know the answer to the question, but I have somebody that I can call that does have that knowledge. And you make that phone call and you can't get a hold of anybody. That was really important to us from the very beginning, that our agents have 24/7 support no
Mm,
matter what. And not just from not just from myself, but we have a whole team. Our company and all of our agents, we actually all work together as a team, and that's what makes us very successful. Is even with buyers, because we work together as a team. And I don't mean a team as in there's a lot of real estate teams out
mhm.
there, like, just for example, like Team Smith, and it'll be like five people on Team Smith, and they
Right.
have a split and they have to share, commissions and such with each other. That's not what I'm talking about as a team. What I'm talking about as a team is our company. All the agents work together for a greater cause, for a greater good, for that person who has that client. They're willing to chip in and give advice, or be willing to be available for a phone call, or jump on the computer really quick to show them how to do something if they're not able to get to a certain place that they need to be. Where the That's what I meant by the personality that we've grown here, is that we really do work together as a team. And because of that, we just are able to provide a much higher level of experience and customer service for our clients because of that teamwork together.
Yeah, I mean, it's really that sort of component to me is extremely important. Now, I know that some people like to they're a lone wolf and they kind of want to do their own thing, and that's great. But I think for most people, that component of being in this industry is extremely important. And what kind of what I'm wondering the most is, for your guys' structure, I know you work as essentially your partners, right? Everybody's there to help each other. And for you guys that don't understand, when she's saying, there's these teams, it's like there's someone that they're under, and they all kind of like have these meetings, and it's a totally different thing than being in a team spirit, right? And I think that's kind of
Correct.
what you're saying, like you're there to help each other. And I know for me that was a key component of um when I first got into the industry. I never thought real estate was the way that I was going to go. I've always been sort of a sales media guy. And so when I got into it, having lucked into finding somebody who became a mentor and helped me develop and understand what was going on in the industry and kind of the nuances of it was extremely important. And then having people that were part of the brokers that I could rely on when he maybe wasn't available, it made a huge difference for me to find success and to find passion in this industry. And I will say, if you guys have the opportunity to go onto Facebook and find groups of new realtors or new loan officers, sometimes I mean, I follow them just because I'm generally interested about what people are learning, but you will be extremely surprised how many people are on there asking questions where I often think, why are you not talking to your broker about this, or a team lead, or whoever it may be? And you start to realize very quickly that the resources that somebody may have been promised are not really there. And it makes this job a lot more difficult. And to me, it sounds like you guys have developed an infrastructure that has allowed you to continue to provide resources, um, as much as you guys possibly can, which I love.
Well, and that's part of why it was created the way it's been created, because I experienced it myself with the previous, real estate company I was with. But we've had many realtors that have come to us that they've come to us because they didn't have management support when they
Mm.
needed it. And that's really key to any real estate agent. It doesn't matter how independent you are, as a realtor, every now and then something's going to come up that you need some additional help. But if you can't get a hold of that manager, that can make or break your deal.
So, what was, kind of taking a step back a bit, what was the thing that made you decide, like, I'm going to go from being a realtor to wanting to be a broker, right? Because it is, in a lot of ways, a much different sort of career path in what we're doing. And I always find that it's very interesting of like people who maybe that's just how they've always been. Like, I just want to go up as high as I can. Or if some people had something that just impacted them so drastically in this industry where they're like, nope, I got to create my own thing, right? So what was that for you?
Actually, that for me was, our president and CEO. Um, he he really, when we talked about opening the real estate company, I mean, that was a part of the initial discussion, was that eventually I needed to be able to get my broker's license. So it was something at that point in discussion of wanting to open a real estate company that I began the pursuit of that.
So he kind of how did you guys meet? Like, so this is what I'm thinking right now is it sounds like he sort of inspired you to kind of move up in this, and you guys want to start this broker up. But how did you guys meet? Like, what was that situation?
Definitely. Well, at that particular time, I was doing a lot of short sales. So I, was actually negotiating short sales for real estate agents across the state of California.
Hmm.
So I had built a reputation for doing so. So I was handling, um, between 35 to 50 short sales a month.
Wow.
It was a huge volume. And the place that I was at the time, and I don't want to mention names because it's not important now.
Right.
Um, the place that I was at the time, I was unhappy with. But while I was searching for, I was looking for a company, or a person or an entity or a company to kind of help me raise funds
Mm.
for, sellers. At that particular time, it was, 2012, 2013. Folks, they couldn't pay their mortgage payments, but I mean, they couldn't buy gas for their cars. They couldn't pay their insurance. They couldn't pay their electricity bill. So I was out looking for someone maybe to help, raise some funds to be able to help these people.
Mm.
And that's how I found Future Academy and Current Trends, which is a nonprofit, corporation in the Bay Area. And the, president, CEO, his name is Clifton Sussums. Uh, he liked that idea, and he helped me and created actually a page on his website for contributions to help folks with that were in this particular situation. So he created that for me. We, did a campaign across the country. We raised funds. We had to put a cap on it because, of course, people would write to us and say, "Hey, we want you to pay off our mortgage," and we couldn't do
Right.
that. We'd have be out of funds in, a couple weeks. So we, campaigned and got money, and then we're able to actually hand out, Safeway gift cards. We paid people's electric bills. We paid people's car insurance bills. And that's how I met our president CEO. And then he one day said to me, why don't you start your own real estate company? Why don't, I've got a couple of the people here I think would be interested. Why don't we sit down and talk about starting a real estate company? And honestly, it was at that particular time, it was just not something I ever thought of doing.
Mm. So what was it that drove you to want to do this fundraising and philanthropy?
Um, because uh, because I was on the phone daily with these sellers, these folks
Mm.
that were losing their homes to short sales. And because I was on the phone with them daily, because I'd have to get different information from them while I was negotiating with their banks. So, when you get on the phone with folks that are having experiencing hard times, they share a lot with you about their current
Mm.
circumstances.
And so was that, I spent a lot of time in nonprofit, and so was that sort of your kind of your first jump into it, or do you have a background in fundraising or anything like that?
No,
Are
that
you
was
a
my first.
Rotarian or Kiwanian or anything like that?
No, that was my first dive.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, really, to just have this kind of empathy fill your soul and just feel like I need to do something for this, especially in such a I was still pretty young, so I didn't really experience that. But I know how difficult it was for a lot of people, and especially during that time to step up and do what you could. That's pretty amazing. And is that something that you've continued to do through your life, or was that something you guys did and that was a great project, and then you kind of went on and did your thing?
No, we actually continue to do that. We actually continue to take in donations, and we continue to um, help folks that are in need, not just in a short sale situation.
Hmm.
We've expanded that now to lots of folks are in need for different reasons. So our main criteria is that you need to write us a letter or send us an email letting us know about your particular situation, and then we let you know we do have a cap for different situations. And of course, we have to verify information because there are unfortunately people out there that take advantage and don't and are not truthful. So when we did pay certain accounts, we would call, for instance, the electric company. We would call PG&E and pay the bill for the person.
Hmm. So what is the name of the foundation?
Future Academy and Current Trends.
Sure, Academy and Current Trends. We'll make sure to include that in the bio section for anybody that's interested in donating or participating, anything like that. I think it's a great cause that you guys have to help people. I mean, to buy a house is one of the most stressful things that you'll ever do in your life. Um, and I can only imagine that losing your home is right up there with that experience, right? And definitely in least
Definitely.
a less exciting and fun way. Definitely. So that's great. So you guys start this brokerage. You've been out there in Folsom. What is the experience like? Not for you individually, because obviously we all grow and things like that, but your kind of experience from people coming into your brokerage and kind of their work ethic, their kind of viability within the company then versus now, right? Because I have this conversation quite a bit, and I'm part of these organizations where we're working with kids that are 18, the COVID kids who 2 years, 2.5 years where they weren't interacting with anybody. And it's definitely it's a different experience out there now with different values within the community. And being in real estate is very entrepreneurial. It's very have to be self-driven. Have you found that there's any like shifts in that at all for you guys?
Um, Not really. And the reason why is because, I mean, in order to even want to be in this business, you need to be a people person. You
Mm,
need to be able to talk. It's a personal business. This is not an online business.
mm-hmm,
So, no, I mean, and we do have several young people. So, I mean, we've got about 32 agents right now, and they range from 22 to 80.
Mm.
So, and we have everything in between, but we do have, some younger agents, but I haven't seen that.
I mean, that's good, right? And I
Yeah.
think for those of you that don't know, the reality of the real estate world is that most people don't use their licenses, right? Or if they do, they're doing very little transactions. And the amount of people that have been leaving the industry and running for the hills over the last year has been staggering. And that's both on the real estate side and the loan side, right? So, it sounds like you guys have had a great experience, and maybe it's because greatness breeds greatness and you guys just attract those sort of people, right? Which is amazing. But I think, in part, there are quite a bit of people in the industry that do struggle to do well because it's because there's so many components to it. But really, what you said is it's a people. I always say I'm a person to person type of person. That's kind of how I grew up. I love being in front of people. I love having conversations. And even for myself, who's highly sociable and, educated and things like that, I still find from time to time that this is a pretty tough career to, always kind of be pushing forward in. So that's great to hear. And I'm glad you guys haven't really been dealing with that. So, what can you tell us? What's going on out in the Folsom area? What's going on in the El Dorados area that people need to know about right now?
Well, first, I'd like to make a comment about what you were just talking about.
Sure.
As far as with our company, we put a lot of emphasis on education and coaching. So,
Mm.
Future Homes and Real Estate actually offers professional coaching to all of our agents. Um,
And when you
and
say professional coaching, in what capacity do you mean for that?
what I mean by professional coaching is that the company actually pays for a professional coach.
Oh, wow.
So they have programs. They can come in and they sit down and they can go through an entire professional coaching program. It's paid by the company
That's
um,
the first I've ever heard of anyone doing that. I
because
mean,
nobody else does that.
yeah,
We
that's the
are
most.
the first that does that.
Yeah,
And,
that's really amazing.
and I would say, I mean, for the most part, all of our agents that have joined Future Homes and Real Estate have doubled their business within the first year.
Wow.
Because we equip them with the right tools and help them to not get bogged down in. I mean, a real estate agent can sit in front of a computer and take classes all day long and never
Mm.
talk to a person. And so a lot of realtors, sometimes they might get bogged down in all
Hmm.
these different, there's constantly people email, and I'm sure you experience that as well as a loan officer. There's already somebody emailing you or calling you or texting you for this program or this lead referral system. There's always something. And so we work really hard here at Future Homes and Real Estate to help them focus so that they don't walk down every single path that's offered to them. That we help them schedule it and really refine their tools and get them out meeting people and with the public, because that's really where their business is out in the public.
Yeah, I mean that honestly, that's outstanding, right? That I find, working with a lot of new realtors and my realtor partners when we're having conversations about creating actionable items, because you're right, especially in the world of social media where a lot of people feel that that's where a lot of their focus needs to be, that they need to be creating their brand on there and things like that. But a lot of people aren't super sure on even how to execute on that. We talk a lot about the lost art of networking, right? Of
Right.
really just being in person. And we say, look, that's great, create your brand, because when you do send them somewhere, they'll have something to look at, right? But if you're not out meeting people, if you're not going to your chamber of commerce and your ribbon cuttings and your networking events and having these, genuine conversations, and um, you're gonna have a lot of problems, and that's why a lot of people aren't getting business. So it's great to hear. And to be clear, there are a lot of brokerages that offer coaching, but it's really kind of like the person that's above you is coaching you. And they're not, in my opinion, most of the time, they're not, a professional coach like you guys are bringing in. And so to me, that's really outstanding. And it sounds like it's been extremely impactful.
Oh, it definitely has. And we just spend a lot of time with them, honing in on the skill set that you need, and limiting it so that they're not just, inundated with skills, but they're not
Hmm.
actually out in the community. And there's so many different ways to reach people, and to start conversations, even if it is by text or letters, or even even a QR code that has, an introduction video of you
Hmm.
on the video. It's you introducing yourselves. I mean, no, millennials really like that. They're not as much to, meet with us in person right away.
Sure.
So helping our agents be able to understand that there's different ways to reach people initially, so that they can see you and maybe see your personality. It's a warmer invitation than just a letter or an email or a text.
Yeah, the thing I mean, I don't, obviously, I haven't been through the program, so I don't know what it is. But what I like about what you're saying is that it sounds like the development of it is really, it really helps people understand the community that they're speaking to. That's what my background, my degrees are in, is communication. And so that's part of the way that I kind of leverage these conversations with individuals and say, like, hey, there's different ways to talk in interpersonal, small group, large group, public speaking, whatever it is. And more so, we're starting to see the different way that age gaps communicate with the growth. And if you grew up natively with social media and things like that. And so, um, I like that a lot. To me, I feel like that's one of the other lost arts, is how to communicate effectively in these different spaces. And so I think you're hitting that on the head. But yeah, that sounds great. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to tell us about the coaching thing. If not, we can talk a little bit about what's going on in the community.
Yeah, we can go ahead and jump into the community part of it. So I'm going to look away here for just a second because
Sure.
I've got it up on my other computer. But if you take our 13, if our metro list here in Sacramento really consists of 13 counties, and a lot of people don't know that. So our metro list is Butte County, Colusa, Sutter, Yuba, Nevada, Placer, El Dorado, Amador, Yolo, Sacramento, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced. It's 13 counties is our immediate MetroList system. And then we do co-op with, I'm also a director on the MetroList board of directors.
Hmm.
Um, we also co-op with Mendocino, Sonoma, Napa, Solano, Marin, and then Contra Costa, Alameda, San Mateo, Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, San Benito, and Monterey. But the first 13 counties that I mentioned, that's our immediate area of
Hmm.
homes. So typically our numbers are just, and I'm sure that you know this and most people know this, our numbers are just really down right now. We have more buyers right now than we have homes to sell them. We need listings. And a lot of people, they refied with it. They either purchased or they refied in the last 3 years, and they got really low interest rates. So somebody who's sitting on a house at 3% interest rate, a 30-year fix, they're not really going to be inclined to sell right now because of that really low interest rate. They're not going to want to trade that for, 6 3/4.
Hmm.
That's just not appealing. So, and to give you kind of an idea, so in July of 2022, we had 8,500 homes that were for sale. Um, in Just in April, so April of this year, we had 4,000 homes for sale. So it's half. It's half the amount. And of course, our sold is even lower at about we're sitting at in April we're sitting at about 3,000 homes, and that's just an extremely low number.
Yeah,
So
one of the interesting things about these numbers, right, is the hands-on experience in this. And because I've only been in real estate for 4 years, so I haven't experienced a lot of these waves up and down yet. And one of the things during COVID was the multiple bidding situation that was going on, and I thought for sure once everything goes the opposite way, we're not going to see that. But now, because we are so far to the other direction where inventory is so low, we're seeing almost the same thing in a lot of situations where we're seeing a lot of bids come in on these properties because there's not a lot out there. And it's, to me, that was a really, as being a relatively green realtor, that was a really interesting thing for me to kind of see. Is that typical? Is this a weird market? Or is this just like that's a
it's a
normal?
weird market. We're not seeing it at the pitch level that it was during COVID with 50 offers. I mean,
Right.
we're not seeing that. We are seeing multiple offers, especially if you're dealing with a house that's you know even under 600. I mean, I would have said under 500 a month ago, but now I would even say under 600.
Mm,
If it's a real clean home, and it's fairly close to the freeway, so that's part of it. If you get it, when you're dealing with Placer County, Sacramento County, some of the other counties that maybe some of the homes are closer to the freeway, those are going to go faster and have more buyer competition. But the further you get out, the slower that market is.
mm.
So we are still seeing that multiple offers, especially when it's a turnkey clean home. But as there's a little bit more work needed, or the further you get from a main freeway, then that slows down a little bit. It's still a seller's market, but it does slow down a little bit.
Yeah, the interest. So I'm typically pretty good at checking rates, and I normally do it on the weekly, or sorry, on the daily basis. But I've been working on a couple loans, and they're locked. So I've just been focusing on the other things, and then I saw they went into the sevens, and I was like, "What just happened? Why did the rates just shoot up so much?" Nah, I mean, they didn't shoot up drastically, but they went up, and they leveled a little bit today. But we're for a good borrower, you're right below seven. If you have kind of really any issues, you're in that seven range right now. And so that was, that combined with the property rates are not dropping very quickly, and we have very low inventory. Where do you see this going in the next 6 months?
Wow, that's a really good question. Every real estate agent would love to have a crystal ball. Um,
Yep.
that's a tough call. I think that I think that I think that the feds are going to have to stop raising the rates, and it's my understanding from different experts out there that that's probably exactly what they're going to do.
Hmm.
Is I believe they have one more increase and then they're going to stop. Um, because quite honestly, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like they're really just shooting themselves in the foot. Um, I think if when they stop, I think it's going to level out a little
Hmm.
bit. Not, I don't believe it's going to slow down because I believe we're still going to have the same issue that we have now. We still have more buyers than we have houses to sell them. So, we do have people that are moving out of state, but not like the numbers that you hear on the news. And when you hear on the news, they don't even give you numbers. They just tell you, oh, there's this mass exodus. No, there's not. There's not a mass exodus. The majority of all my clients, they're either pretty much, I'd say 90% of them are either buying a larger home or they're downsizing. They're not moving out of state. So, and the 50% of the buyers that I'm seeing are either are local, they're buying local, or the other 50% is 25% is coming from the Bay Area, in East Bay Area, and then the other 25% is coming from Southern California. We do have a lot of cash buyers, but I also believe part of the reason why we have that is when we did hit that peak of the market, in 2021, 22, people did sell, and then they've been sitting on that money. They've had that cash, and for capital gains, they've got 2 years before they have to reinvest that. I'm seeing some of that money be reinvested now because I am seeing more cash buyers.
Mm. Yeah, the market, I'm interested as well. There's two things that kind of catch my attention when it comes to Federal Reserves. And I've heard the same thing that there's one more adjustment that's supposed to be happening, but there hasn't been any real whispers on what's going to happen after that. And I think we're all kind of hoping for that adjustment. I'm also really curious about the Fed Now program, and that's going to be launching in July, I believe. How that's going to be impacting our economy as a whole. And so it's a really interesting time, coming out of everything that we had. And then, especially here in Sacramento, that's why I think Sacramento is just a really interesting place in the United States, because along with everything that happened, we've been for the last couple years ranked in the top, if not number one, in the top five best places to live in the United States, the largest growing real estate area. And I think a lot of that comes from people moving from the Bay Area into Sacramento, things
Yeah.
like that. But it's so interesting because now we're ending up on some of the lists for like the quickest downs, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, when you put nationally that this is a place that you should buy real estate, and then everything shifts, obviously it's going to go the opposite direction pretty quickly once everything is kind of in that direction. So Sacramento is such an interesting place. But so what else is going? I mean, you're talking generally about what's going on in the market, but what's specifically going on out there in El Dorado and in Folsom?
Well, we do. We have a lot of people too that, they don't have to show up at Google anymore. They don't have to show up at Yahoo anymore. They don't have to
Hmm.
show up at Apple anymore. They get to work from home. So you have a lot of people coming from San Francisco, um, Berkeley, Oakland, Piedmont, Dublin, Pleasanton, Walnut Creek, Concord. You have a lot of people from those areas, excuse me, that are moving to our areas because they only have to go into the office maybe once a week or maybe twice a week. So they can work
Hmm.
from home now. Now that they can work from home and they don't have to commute, that just opened up a huge door for them to be able to be out in the country.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I wasn't even really considering in everything that I was saying. But I mean, as a person in this industry, I work from home a lot in general. But my wife, who's a data scientist, also works from home, and so we both are working from home. We've had joking conversations about like, should we just move to San Diego? Should we just move to Santa Barbara already and have a beach life? But that's part of the reality that's happening right now. And we had a friend who moved down to San Diego. Actually, we've had two friends. One moved to San Diego, one moved to LA, and their work said it's fine. They weren't entirely sure, and then they said, well, you guys are still doing your job, you're still effective, and that's fine, we'll keep you on. And so I think we are seeing a lot more of that. And Sacramento is a great place, especially if you're moving. I grew up in the Bay Area when I was younger: Brentwood, Antioch, Concord, Pittsburgh. So I know the areas, and I know that things have developed a lot. I'm not a huge fan of living in the Bay Area in general. I mean, some areas are really beautiful, but I really love Sacramento because it's like in between, right? Because I grew up in the Central Valley as well, like by Modesto and Ceres. I went to a really small country school for high school. And so I like Sacramento. It's in the middle, and I think it makes a sense for a lot of people who want to kind of move out of the Bay Area. Still kind of want to have some sort of city experience, but wants a bigger house. Who wants a backyard and a bigger lawn and things like that. So I think it's a great area for those sort of things.
Yeah, that and we're seeing a lot of that. And second homes. That's so El Dorado County is you've got, the majority of the people that live in El Dorado County are retirement people. So they're retiring from the Bay or Southern California. This is the place that they've chosen
Mm.
to retire. And oftentimes they're buying their homes up to 5 years in advance and they're renting them out until they're ready to actually move into them. So we do see a lot of that in El Dorado County. And then, of course, we have, working folks too, but we also have a lot of second home owners. So they're buying their second homes or a vacation home in El Dorado County. So especially when you get up towards, Placerville, Camino, Pollock Pines, and on the way up the hill up to South Lake Tahoe, there's a lot of second homes in those areas. Um, Folsom is still, a really a working bedroom community. So most of the people in Folsom are still commuting. They're commuting to Sacramento. They're commuting to the Bay. But I would say a lot of those folks that are buying some of the new homes, like Folsom Ranch, and a lot of the newer communities that are on the south side of Highway 50 in Folsom, those a lot of those folks are not having to commute, but maybe once or twice a week.
So you kind of bring up some of the new development that's happening out there. Because you're out in the Folsom area, what's that chatter like for you guys? Are you guys getting excited about all of this new construction that's up your guys' way?
Um, Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think that there's a lot of houses that are going in, and maybe not as much development to um, support it all. So
Mm,
it is making Folsom a much busier place to be, especially traffic wise on East Bidwell or Iron Point Road or even Prairie City in Folsom Boulevard. I mean, it just becomes a lot more crowded than it was before. You used to be able to get off the freeway, Highway 50, and get off at East Bidwell, and there was no line to get off the freeway. There is now.
yeah,
So,
I have
it
friends
has
out
been
in
a lot of
Anatolia, and that's where they go. They go out to Folsom to do anything.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's another area that's been growing. Gosh, it's really been growing out there as well. But it does provide a lot of great amenities for folks that are getting into the housing market. They can still get into a home for, there are homes more expensive, but they can still get in a home, under 600,000. They've got solar. A lot of the communities have low Mello-Roos or low, bond taxes and bonds. So it still can be very affordable. They get a brand new home and they're literally within 15-20 minutes to Folsom.
Do you guys deal with a lot of new construction?
Not a lot, no, a little bit, but not a lot. A, the a lot of the new construction home builders, sometimes they actually don't cooperate with realtors at all.
Mm,
And sometimes they do, and it just it seems like it just depends on how slow or fast they are. So if they become slow, then they reach out to us and say, "Hey, we're cooperating with realtors.
sure.
These are some of the incentives we have for buyers. Please bring them our way. We'll pay you a commission." And then other times they actually put it out to us that they're not cooperating with realtors at all.
Mm. Yeah, we have a couple new construction partnerships through Northern California, and it's been a really, not a lot of realtors deal with new construction and kind of the capacity that I've been able to. And so I've been able to get kind of a lot of insight on that, especially when there were all of these shipping delays, like people that are having issues with windows and doors and just like the weird, I'm like, you guys are building houses. What is this? What's the problem here? So such an interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, you see that as well. we see that in, especially with our realtors, depending on the community that they're going in and the time that they're going in, how flexible they're going to be and those kind of perks. But, I think, well, I'm curious on your opinion on this because you're saying that there's these affordable homes, right around 600,000, but most of the people that I talk to, they don't find that affordable. They say all of the houses that they're building out here that are new, that are, actual houses, not townhomes, things like that, they're very expensive and it's starting to price people out of Sacramento. And because you guys have been doing real estate for so long here, what houses used to be cost here and where they're at now. Do you guys have kind of any, they're going to get filled. We have a house shortage, so they're going to get filled by somewhere, but people feel like people who grew up here in Sacramento who want to buy a house cannot buy a house here anymore because all new construction is too expensive, and that's just where the market is here. So, I'm kind of interested in your opinion because you've been out here for a while.
And that's so true, especially, you've got couples that are starting out and it's tough for them to be able to find affordable housing. There's no doubt about that. I've worked with buyers myself that may go out looking at houses and, when they find out, they do the calculations for the mortgage payment and they realize, wow, this is almost 3 times the amount I'm actually paying in rent. And so they decide not to purchase. And a lot of people, are not able, their income isn't going up as fast as the cost of housing is.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true. It does happen. But I do see, like right now, like in Roseville, area, even though I could take Lennar for an example. So Lennar has a new whole new neighborhood going up in Roseville. It's like on the north. So it's like on the north side of Roseville, northeast side of Roseville. And they're beautiful homes, fantastic homes, 3-4 bedroom, 3-bath homes, 2-story. And they're going for about $560. That's not what they're listed at. They're listed much higher, but they're selling for lower than what they're listing. So I would encourage folks to go out and wheel and deal with them. You might be surprised. You want to call a realtor. You want to talk to a realtor first before you go out, because a realtor can help you. Especially a realtor that has knowledge about the incentives. A realtor really can help you get a better deal. So you want to call the realtor first, because if you go out to the new home builds without your realtor, they take your name down before you're even allowed to go walk through the homes. And at that point, if you come back because you want to purchase, they won't work with your realtor at all. So your realtor has to be with you there from the very beginning to register you, and then allow them to help you negotiate the best deal.
Yeah, and in these sort of situations, it's really in your best interest. You might be like, well, I'm an adult. I can go look at these houses on my own. But it's really in your best interest to have somebody there to represent you. And not to say that any, Lennar, D.R. Horton, or any of these guys are trying to cheat people. But,
No.
you want your representation there, and you want somebody that knows what's going on and it can explain these incentives that are going on to you. I mean, a lot of them are giving $10,000, for credits and things like that. So that's, you're right that you consider that. Definitely talk to your realtor. If you don't have a realtor, find a realtor and kind of get that moving forward. So, we have this new construction coming in, and we're getting a lot of areas that are kind of getting developed a little bit more. I just had a conversation with one of our realtors about some of the projects that are happening near downtown, into West Sac, and in the rail yard area, which is really interesting development out in this area. But what is it that about Sacramento you think that is driving people here, and what do people need to know if they want to come out to Sacramento that's kind of critical about being out in this community. And obviously, we've talked about this on the podcast. We have a lot of micro communities out here in Sacramento, and they can be very different experiences, like a lot of places. And so, not that we can put the greater Sacramento area into one bucket, but I think you probably have a kind of a good insight on, why people should choose Sacramento.
I think that you know, it, it offers a wide spectrum of employment, first of all. You're really in the middle of, everywhere, anything you want to do. I mean, really Sacramento's in the middle. I mean, you could be in the mountains in, in 2 hours snow skiing, and then an hour and a half in the other direction, you could be at the beach, and you can go snow skiing and you go surfing all in one day.
That
And
would be pretty cool.
I think that Sacramento is very unique in that fashion, as opposed to, other communities throughout the state of California. It's just
Hmm.
because of you have multiple freeways, of course, to choose from, and multiple different directions you can go. But um, it is a nice, bedroom community. It does have a lot to offer. We have a lot of state and government workers in Sacramento. So those folks who really they like their government jobs, we have a lot of those. But we also have many other. Um, we have. I'm trying to remember which airliner it is that has. There's a couple of manufacturers that are in El Dorado Hills that
Hmm.
are manufacturing, airline parts, and we've got, Intel and Folsom.
Is it Aerojet, maybe?
I think it is Aerojet. I mean, they're one of the biggest employers of El Dorado Hills. You've got
Hmm.
Blue Shield, which is also one of the biggest employers of El Dorado Hills. You've got Intel and Folsom. And even as you get into Sacramento, and you've got an Apple base over in Elk Grove. I mean, I think that our whole valley it has a lot to offer, and it also has, ample amount of entertainment. With the new King Center in downtown Sacramento, the new theater. You've got the Harris Center in Folsom. There's a lot of entertainment that's being offered in the whole, Tri County area as well.
Yeah, Sacramento's a great. I think it's a good balance, like I said earlier, and especially I'm hoping that the Republic, our soccer team out here, will get that MLS bid again, and they'll build a new
Yeah,
stadium out here for that. That will be awesome. There's even some chatter about us acquiring a hockey team, which would be really cool.
yeah,
And you guys out in Folsom, you guys have Paychecks as well, which a lot of people don't know, but they're one of the largest payroll processing companies in the world, or at least in the United States, I should say. And so there is a lot of really great things. It's one of the reasons I moved to Sacramento because being in the PR world, I didn't feel like the opportunities in Modesto were as great. And so it's one of the reasons I moved out this direction. But there is really kind of a lot entertainment wise. And we're really becoming a hub for food and
yeah,
drinks, which is interesting.
yeah.
A real big foodie community, and we have a ton of craft beer places out here, and we're getting on a lot of lists for that as well. So that's really interesting, in the easy commutes to all of these other places that you might want to visit on the weekends, right? So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
yeah.
So we are getting towards the end of the podcast. I do want to kind of give you an opportunity to, if there's anything we didn't really touch on, and I'm sure we could have easily done a 2 hour podcast with all the knowledge that you have and your kind of insights. But is there anything that you think is critical that, somebody who's in the real estate industry, or, even somebody who's just a consumer listening to the podcast, that they should know either about you guys or Sacramento or real estate in general?
I think that for buyers, I would encourage buyers, even with the higher interest rates, to not give up. And that when you partner with a good real estate agent, we also partner you with a good loan officer, like you yourself, that can help coach coach buyers. A lot of times buyers, they may find out, they can't buy right now, but then they're not coached in a program that helps put them in a position to be able to buy in, let's say, 6 months from now, or a year, or 3 years. They can be put on a plan. So just because you can't maybe buy right now, it doesn't mean that you can't buy in your future. And a good real estate agent and a good loan officer is going to help you, coach you, and put you on a program so that each month you're working towards that goal. And I think that's really important. I don't see a lot of realtors and loan officers doing that. And I think that's really, really important. Um, for for us, for Future Homes in Real Estate, we're just really a dedicated team. One of the things I was alluding to earlier is that there's no seller or buyer on the planet that wouldn't love to have, two real estate agents working for them instead of just one on their behalf. And
Mm.
we partner up a lot so that we can provide that next level customer service. And for our area, I mean, our area offers, and we did just touch on that, so much, not in just entertainment, but also in beauty and being able to just be outdoors. I mean, this is one of the few places in the entire country that you can almost be outdoors almost every day of the
Mm.
year. So, and there's always something to go see and something to go do. We are uniquely located because of that. And we have some really, really great communities and great companies and people that want to just serve their communities and get to know people better. It's a really wonderful family bedroom communities. All of our, just in Sacramento, but when you get out into the littler communities, Arden and Citrus Heights and Fair Oaks, and if you're up in Placer County and you're even in Auburn or Rockland or Roseville or El Dorado, Camino, Placerville, and Amador County, getting Cedar Creek and Jackson, everyone's just pretty friendly.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, and it just reminded me we've been working on a program for the last year, the Roadmap to Homeownership, and the biggest thing that I've been trying to talk to our realtors about is it is getting more difficult to be a homeowner here, and if we're not helping set the foundation 12, a year out, 2 years out, 3 years out, we're really failing our clients, and we're not providing the sort of opportunities that we really need to, because this can be a very difficult thing to really understand, right? The entire process of buying a house, and you're dealing with all these people, and a lot of people, in my experience, kind of wait till the last minute. And so we're trying to have those conversations earlier and earlier with people. And you're right, it is so critical. And the thing you kind of reminded me of outside of that was talking about Sacramento is we have a lot of really great schools as well for families.
Yeah.
We're really close to Davis, which is one of the top schools in what they do in the country. We're not that we have Sacramento State. We have a lot of great junior colleges. And so there is a lot of great stuff out here. You're getting me excited about Sacramento, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I live out here. This is awesome. So before we go, I do want to give you an opportunity to let people know how they can get a hold of you guys.
So they can get a hold of us. They can get a hold of me at April at fair.com. And FAIR is the acronym for Future Homes in Real Estate. So April at FHARE.com. We're on Facebook, Future Homes in Real Estate, also Future Property Management's on Facebook as well. You can always get a hold of us there. Just drop us a direct message and we'll get back to you right away.
I know you're doing so many things that we didn't even get to talk about. We didn't even get to talk about any of those other things. So maybe another time we can jump on and talk about property management and some of the other exciting things that you guys have going on. But for those of you guys listening, if you need a realtor who understands the community, that understands individuals, especially if you're looking out in the El Dorado area, looking in the Folsom area, the greater Sacramento area, don't hesitate to reach out. As always, we're going to have that information in the bio, so you can always look there. But if you're just, you're ready to do it and you heard it here, feel free to reach out. And as always, guys, this is the Hard Money Show, where we talk about real estate, home loans, and media. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.